everyone, and welcome back to the Dream Life Loading Podcast, Season 2, Episode 36. I'm your co-host, Skye.
And I'm your co-host, Susan. How are you today, Skye?
I am feeling good. I feel like last week I was in such a bad mood the day we recorded, but we bounced back. I'm feeling really good this week. I don't know, just weather's great. It's hot, but I feel like I'll take the hot weather. I probably will regret this in a month from now, but right now we had so much rain for what felt like so long, so I'll lean into the happy sunny weather and just feeling very productive and excited about the challenge, which I guess as this is being released, we are on day 2 of the challenge. So I am so freaking excited about that. We have so many people so excited, and the Facebook page is back up and running, which, as we talked about, is one of our favorite parts of the challenge. So I'm just feeling very excited about all these different ventures, and summer, we're finally getting into the swing of summer. So I'm feeling really good. How are you feeling, Miss Soon-to-be Mom?
I am feeling like I want this baby out. I am giving her an eviction notice. I can't. I looked at Chris this morning and I was like, I physically don't know how much more I can take.
Oh,
I'm done. I was up every 30 minutes, it felt like last night. I did not sleep, which is not typical for me. And it literally feels like my hips are going to shatter from the inside out. I've never felt pressure, pain, just being this uncomfortable. Last night I got a dog hair in my eye, and that was my 13th reason. I lost it. We were almost home. Oh, where did I go? Oh, okay.
we're good.
That was weird. Yeah, the whole thing just disappeared.
Oh,
Um, we were on our way home. We were literally on our road, and I knew there was something in my eye the whole car ride, and then I couldn't handle it anymore, and I just started sobbing. And Chris was like, "Did
oh,
your back hurt? What's wrong?" And I was like, "There's something in my eye. I'm pretty sure it's a dog hair." I was like, and I just can't do it anymore.
yep.
Everything just feels uncomfortable. I'm done. And so I took a hot girl shower and I sobbed for a good 20 minutes. Then I collected myself, and then we carried on. But it's just a weird feeling to feel sick, feel fatigued, feel drained, and just not good. And then when you go to lay down, you would expect to feel better and you feel worse.
Jeez.
So that's just
Are
interesting.
you getting relief?
But
Is there anything or any moment in the day where you feel relief?
yeah, right now I'm sitting on my ball and I'm the most comfortable I've been all day,
Okay.
but I don't feel good. So it's home stretch. We
See,
are
the thing
full
is,
term.
as we've talked about, I know nothing, but it seems like this is obviously the worst you felt, at least since first trimester when you were having all
Yeah.
the original back stuff. So it feels
Yeah.
like this is her kind of telling you, get ready, mom, it's time.
Yeah. Yep. And I think so. I think probably part of it is mentally, I think the universe just makes you as uncomfortable as possible so that you don't care and you're
Totally.
just get out of me.
Mhm.
Because that's where I'm at. I remember being so scared in the first and second trimester. I believe I was probably in my 20-ish weeks
Mhm.
and I was home alone and I literally cried because I was so scared of having a baby.
Yeah.
And now I'm I don't care. Like just get out. I don't care how this goes down.
That totally
So
makes sense that you have that original fear, and now, and I feel like you're gonna hit that with motherhood too, where there's certain things
yeah,
that you're like, I'm so afraid of this, or how am I gonna be able to handle this? And then in the moment when it happens, you're like, I couldn't care less, just get this over with now, whatever it is. And
yeah,
honestly, even being a daughter, there's times where your parents just kind of give up, quote unquote, and they're like, I don't care, do whatever you want, I'm over it. So I feel like this is all
yeah.
winning in a way. But I hope the next time, well, we're going to pre record a few, but hopefully by the time the next one goes live, you're a family of 3.
I really, really, really need that to be the case.
We're
I,
not taking any other answer. If she's listening right now, it's time. We're not taking
yeah,
any other answer. It's time to get out. Your time is done.
yeah. I'm thinking 21st or 23rd. Those are the 2 days
Okay.
that I have in my
Yep.
so I will accept either. I was I literally asked my doctor, I was like, "Are you on call this week?" And he was like, yeah, but you should just add 4 days to your due date and that's when you'll come in. And I was like, no, my favorite nurse is working Friday. You're on call. Like, Friday seems like a really good day to
Yep.
just get this done.
It's like they don't know you. Like, excuse me,
I
if you hide
know,
something, it happens.
right. I'm gonna be Friday if I don't have this baby. I might need to take the day off
No.
just to like have a mental
Well,
breakdown.
because Friday from the beginning, like from literally week
Yes,
two,
yes, it's
has,
gonna be the utter disappointment
yes, it's always
if
been
it doesn't.
the 21st. It's always been that
Yeah.
day. Like even like in my head, it's like, oh, it's Friday. Like, okay, it's baby week.
Yeah.
Let's
If not,
go.
I'm just gonna ask them like, induce me, cut her out. I don't care. Just get her out. I can't do this anymore.
If
Like,
you're watching a video, I hope you can see that Susan is completely like, this is not funny. Like, I'm laughing, but Susan is
like no,
very
like I am done. Like this is dead. Like I have, yeah, I would trade. I would trade a lot of things. I would do some heinous things to have this child removed from me at this point. Like I would throw in an extra organ. Like, you want a
get
kidney?
out.
Sure. Take it. Take it while you get her.
Oh my God.
Do
Okay,
that.
so in other exciting news, I feel like this might be the perfect way to segue into this. I started a new role. I feel like I don't really talk
Oh,
about work outside of DLL a lot on here, but I did recently, as in the past week, it's very, very new, but started a new role as a social media manager for a small business. And I'm very excited about it. Susan has been a huge help, and I've been very excited getting into it, but I've been going through a process of now that I've gained another role in this field, it's kind of allowing me to see like this is something that I've had as a passion for such a long time. And I'm really in the past 2 years now turning a passion into a career. And it's not a career that I originally thought I was going to be in. Like when I went to college, I went to school for event planning. I always thought I'd be in weddings, and still one day I might be, who knows. But with this lifestyle, online jobs has been my savior. And I've really turned to social media just because that is something that I've always been interested in. And as it turns out, it's something I'm pretty good at. So I feel like it's pretty cool that I've been able to take this passion and turn it into a career. And we're talking about finding your passion today. So I feel like that's just like the perfect opener to dive into finding your passion. I feel like if you're listening and you're like, I feel like we can go about this so many ways where if you're like hoping to make a career switch to have it be more aligned with a passion, or if you're like, I love my job, but I need a hobby, I need something that's unrelated, or whatever it may be, there's always room to add a little bit more passion to your life and whatever that looks like for you.
absolutely. Two things. One, that was such a more graceful way of segueing than I was going to. I was going to say, if today's episode, if you were or no, I can't even think now. It was like, I'm as passionate about getting this child out of me. That was the segue
That's
I was
good.
going to go with,
That's
something
good.
along those lines. The second thing is I had thought about that. We had talked about this topic for this episode a few times over the last probably 4 months. And it was because one of my friends had privately messaged me and was like, I just don't know what my passion is. Like, I just feel so aimless and like unfulfilled and lost.
Mm.
And I was like, we should do an episode on that because there's so many different ways you can find your passion. And I think that people put a lot of pressure on themselves to find that thing, but it's not. It's such a process
Yeah.
of finding what you like, what you don't like. So I'm really excited for this episode.
Yeah, I actually don't know if I knew that that was your reasoning for wanting to do this topic. So that honestly gives me such a
Yeah.
like a wider understanding of that. And it's so funny that your friend was saying like I feel unfulfilled and all this because I feel like so many of the words you just said are marketing words we use in marketing the 21 day reset and
Yeah.
especially the change your life in 100 days challenge because I think obviously the phrase change your life is so broad and like we know that like obviously change your life can happen in so many ways but the way we focus on it is by finding your passions and by finding little pockets of joy in every single day. So I feel like if you are
Yeah.
listening to this and you're like I don't have a passion, like I don't know, like some days go by and I don't really care, like I'm just looking forward to the weekend, whatever. The change your life in 100 days challenge is going to give you that intentional reason every single day to find something you're passionate about, even if it's just making your coffee routine like extra special. Like you can always find these little pockets of passion, and that's honestly that's what the 100-day challenge is, especially in like the most recent years when we've kind of focused on summer and fun and like incorporating it in that way. So I feel like that would be like step one. If you're like, I'm lost and I don't know what to do, try the 100-day challenge. Like worst that happens is that your life changes in another way and maybe you don't find your passion, but you'll experience a lot of different passions throughout 100 days.
Yes. I think I defined like my passion as my strengths plus what excites me.
Love that.
And I think you need those two things to really find what you're good. If it's hard, that's fine. Like if you like a challenge, then that's one thing. But I think that you have to have skills towards what, like it should come naturally to you.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
I wrote, literally, this is so funny. The majority of my notes for this were questions that I would ask yourself to kind of narrow down what your passion is. And the first question I wrote down was, what skills come to you naturally? So we're very aligned on that.
It's literally the first question on my thing.
I'm not surprised. I'm
Yep.
not at all surprised. The second thing I had written down was, how do you choose to fill your free time? Because I feel like even if like I choose to fill my free time with, I don't know, like reading is definitely a big thing that I choose to fill my free time with. So if you're looking for a passion and you're like, well, I love to read, like maybe you want to take that one step further and start like a book Instagram, or like there's so many things that you can do once you find your passion. Because if your passion is reading, like, okay, you can read books, but I feel like a lot of what makes a passion is the human connection to it, at least for me. And I know like I love to read, but another part of reading that I love is being able to share it with you. For example, we've been reading so many of the same books recently, and that kind of elevates it and makes it even more of a passion because you have someone to share your passion with.
Absolutely. And I think like reading is a really good example because you can read as an isolated, like alone activity, or you can read, you can join a book club, you can join Goodreads, you can follow people on Book Talk. Like there is a community within that passion or that hobby. Or I think that's what it is. There's a community within the hobby, and that's what creates passion.
Yes.
Because I think that there is a missing piece. Like you like by yourself, yes, I guess you can be passionate about it, but it's just an added layer when you get to passion versus a hobby.
I think I didn't even really structure my notes this way, but as we're talking, I'm sensing like, I feel like there's definitely a correlation between like if you're missing a passion, you might also be missing a sense of community. I know I went through that when moving abroad because I obviously lost all sense of community, and I lost a lot of the things that gave me joy. Like live music was a lot harder, performing, which I did in high school that I absolutely loved. Like a lot of these different things that gave me passion, that were my passion, also were my community. So they kind of go hand in hand. So if you're feeling like you're lonely or you moved and you need a new sense of community, focusing in on what your passion is going to give you a very easy way to find community. Like you said, book club, I think that's an amazing example because you love books, you can find a book club, and now you're connecting with people that have a shared passion, and it's just going to elevate your experience, your passion, like all the things go hand in hand.
Yeah. And I think that, so this is another thing that I had on my notes, but also something, it's kind of a double-edged sword. So I love social media. So I'm on social media for business and personal reasons. And I think that social media can become a very overwhelming space if you're trying to isolate and find your passion. However, I think that it's also a really good place to like for exposure and to see like what do you like what do you enjoy watching. I know I love watching the TikToks of book like the girlies book clubs, and they like go all out and they have snacks and like the book on the TV and all the things. So that is a really good way. Like junk journaling, I would have never even tried that if I hadn't seen it on TikTok, and now I love it. So I think being mindful of social media and being just using it as a tool, but not letting it overwhelm you, but just take notes of what you enjoy consuming or watching.
So I love all of those same videos that you talked about. And the running theme for me with everything that you just mentioned is you're watching people that have strong, passionate feelings about the thing that they're doing. And no matter what somebody's doing, I find I can focus in and find something to love about it if someone is passionate about it. So where I'm going with that
Yeah.
is something I'd written down is don't be afraid to talk about your passions and be literally passionate about your passions. I think often people will kind of downplay, like, oh yeah, I like to read, but like it's not cool, or oh, I love to horseback ride, but that's not like whatever your passion, whatever your thing is, lean into that, share that with people because you never know if I didn't reach out about this job and if I wasn't like, oh, well, I don't know, like that's not really my thing, you won't get opportunities. So, like, if you love to read, you share that with somebody and then they're like, wait, we have a book club, you might be a perfect addition for this, or junk journaling. People are posting about that and they have so much joy about it. You saw that and you're like, wait a minute, I want to have this much joy over it. You tried it and you did. So I think the the just the act alone of sharing what you're passionate about has such a great impact for anybody who's going to consume that.
I couldn't agree more. I had somewhere that I wanted to go with that, and now I can't remember what direction I was headed. Shit, my brain really is not working.
Like social media, sharing passions.
Oh, my job. My job is a perfect. It was because you had brought it up at the beginning, and then I was like really in awe of everything you said. Um, this is an experience for me. I feel delusional today. Um, my job is a perfect example of taking a passion and then making it into a career.
Mm-hmm.
When I started at this company, I was a copywriter, which I did follow a passion of mine, which
Yes.
was writing. At the beginning of the year that I quit teaching, I had said to myself, I want two things. Like, I had already quit my job. I didn't know what my new job was going to be. And I said, I would love to be working remotely and I want to be writing. Like, I don't care what it is, but I love writing. This copywriter job essentially landed in my lap and I started there. And then a few months into it, I realized that there was a gap in our company. We didn't really have a social media presence. And I loved social media. So I just kept pushing. I pushed for probably a year and advocating for different ideas that I had, whether I was to implement them or not. And I just stayed passionate about it. And in all of my evals, there are always little notes that says Susan is passionate about social media. And then they ended up building this entire new position that I now have as the content strategist and customer experience analyst. So it just shows that if you're passionate about something, like if I wasn't passionate about it, I would have gotten shot down the first time and then I would have just dropped it. But I didn't. I respectfully and professionally continued to push the envelope until it busted open. And then now I have a new job.
Yes. And I think the fact that you even just shared that to begin with, like you were a copywriter, like there was no reason why you needed to talk about your company's social media. Like you could have stayed in your box and that would have been fine and you probably would
Yeah.
still be doing
Leave
copywriting.
in my catalogs.
Yep. But you had such a passion for this and you chose to share that because one, it was something that you loved, and two, it was something that you were confident in your ability in. And that people saw. It's the same sort of thing. Like people, it's almost like it's a magnetic energy when you are openly passionate about something because it literally, like your passion forced, like not you, but like your literal passion forced your company to be like, we have to take advantage of this. Like it's such a wasted resource to have her here and not have her doing what she's passionate about.
Yes. And that was literally one of the key like factors that I was trying to drive home to them. I was like advocating for myself, but also for them. And I was like, this is a gap in the market, and you have someone that you're not using their skills and passions to their max potential. And that was honestly, I think, one of the driving factors that ended up for me where I am now.
Yeah, and that's a confidence thing too. And I think it's amazing that you had the confidence to do that. And I'm grateful to your TikTok presence because I feel like that gave you the confidence to know, like, hey, I've done this here. I know I can do it for your company. And I think that confidence
Yeah.
takes quite a bit of time because I'm even thinking like if I had advocated for myself earlier with the main company that I'm at, I probably could have started their social media a lot earlier, but I did not have the confidence to say like I can do this. Even now, it's something that I have to remind myself and like be very intentional about like knowing like yes, you can do this, but it is like having confidence in your passion elevates it to a whole new level. And as example shows, you can really take it from a hobby to a career if you just have the confidence to advocate and say it, make it happen.
Yeah. And I think a big part of that too, I mean, this can be its whole own episode, which I think we do have on the list, but imposter syndrome, you got to deal with it, but you can't let that, like, your passion will always outweigh the imposter syndrome
Yes.
if you're really passionate about it. It might make you scared, it might make you feel small, but at the end of the day, you have to let that passion that you have for whatever it is be greater than the fear of the unknown and the imposter syndrome. I remember I got this job. They had built this job out of something that I had been recommending, and then I interviewed for it, and I remember being like, I don't think I'm qualified for
Yes.
this.
Right.
And and it's like, well, no, you are. You're the reason that they started the process of generating this role. So it's just one of those things that you have to address and be okay with, like acknowledge those feelings,
Mhm.
and a lot of times like see how you can better yourself in that passion. Like
Yes.
if you're having imposter syndrome saying like I don't have enough experience, okay, create an opportunity for yourself to create experience.
Mhm.
Social media is a really great place to start if you're passionate about social media, but that is a perfect example of a place where you can generate your own experience, whether it's on a personal TikTok or a book talk or whatever you're passionate about, you can generate and create your own experience there.
Mhm. I think there's, for some reason, and maybe you can verbalize this better than me, but there's a difference between, at least for me, having something that I am personally passionate about and then like a job passion that like I something about my job gives me passion, just for example, or I have passion about some or all aspects of my job. For whatever reason, I would tell myself that the things that I'm getting paid to do and that I was like hired to do, I'm better at than the things that I have passion about in day-to-day life, but I'm not getting paid to do. And I think it's there's that outside approval of when your boss is like, yup, great work on this. Like, it's like, yeah, I'm passionate about this and I'm good at it because that guy just told me I am, versus something that I'm incredibly passionate about and might even be better at, but I'm doing it just for self pleasure and not for work or finances or whatever. It's harder to
Right.
know, yeah, I actually am good at this. So when you combine the two, you have that sense of imposter syndrome where it's like, well, I think I'm really good at this, but no one's ever actually told me, or even if they have, there's not a monetary value yet attached to it. So how do I know? And can I actually prove myself? So it's a very tricky transition, I think, in a lot of ways, is turning a passion into a career.
Right. And I think that a lot of that stems back from our history of being people pleasers.
Yes.
Or if you were like a school kid who really enjoyed school, I think we all have that like internal need for external validation. And I think that honestly, you can go back to watch our video last week about goal setting, and you're looking for outcome validation where
Yeah.
with a passion, it's always going to be process validation because that's how you're going to figure out if you like it, if you're good at it, and if it's the right fit for you.
Yeah.
And I think there is a lot of pressure to like find your passion, especially if you're like in your, well, I guess this could apply at any age, but I feel like in your younger 20s, especially when you're either out of college or maybe you're still in college, but like your core group of friends that you grew up with have probably dispersed. You have all this extra time on your hands, whether you're working a 40-hour job, then what do you do with the rest of your time? Or if you're in college, like I know I had the hardest time in college because it's like you don't have a full 8-hour day
Yeah.
where you're doing X, Y, and Z. So what do you fill those little pockets of time with? And I think that you just have to be willing to try new things and trial and error. And honestly, finding out what you don't like is so much more important than, because it's isolating you down to what you will like
Yes.
eventually.
Yes. It's interesting that you bring up having a harder time in college finding passions, or maybe you were more just saying that there were more time to fill with passions, so it was harder to fill that gap.
Yeah.
But I think the transition from grad to post grad in college, you have such a plethora of opportunity for passions, and if you're willing to reach out and find them, like, oh my god, the amount of clubs we had at UNH, and like the extracurricular courses, like there were wine tasting courses at UNH, there were like pickleball, like you could literally take a class for credit in so many different, like, not academic related things that you would probably find a
Right.
passion in. Like I fell into my what ended up being my major because of a course. I don't even remember the name of it, but it was something related to something with event planning that I was like, oh, I like that. Like I'll take that as my extra credit for this semester, or whatever it actually was called. And then it kind of fell into it. But college gives you such an easy, and obviously that's the point, is they want you to find interest, and that's the point of college. But then post grad, like there's not the bulletin board in my dorm that's telling me like what's happening this week, and like it's so much harder, one, to find community, and two, to find your passions if you don't have it built into your life already. And so I give people in their early 20s a lot of credit. Like one of my best friends, her boyfriend is really good about getting out, doing like club sports and just like fun stuff on the side, that you're not doing it for competition really, but you're doing it for the community and the sense of like fulfilling your passions and keeping yourself feeling fulfilled outside of work. Because I think when we make that switch to working full time, it can be really hard to still feel fulfilled with your passions. And I think it's really important to keep up with that.
Yeah, especially when I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the first job you get post grad is probably not the job that you are the most passionate about.
Mhm.
So being able to kind of fill the passion side of your cup
Yes.
is so, so important. Whether you can do that in small increments at work or in your off time is so, so important just to you as a person.
Yep.
Like that's the things that you enjoy make up who you are.
Yes. Oh, for sure. So I know we went on a tangent here, and I feel like we've had good information about passion, but to wrap up the end of this here, we came into this with the question of finding your passion. Like rapid fire, if someone's like, I have no idea what my passion is and I need to find one, like I'm feeling that, like I'm feeling the missing hole, I need to fill it, what advice do we give them? Here's how you find your passion. Like here's the 3-step way, whatever it is.
I would say figure out your three biggest strengths, be willing to try a variety of different things, and then make notes of what you hate, because you're going to get so much closer to what you like, not doing things similar to what you don't like.
Yes, for sure. So agreed with everything. We talked about what skills, you said strengths. How do you choose to fill your free time? That kind of goes into like, I feel like there's like hobbies and strengths kind of make up your passion. Um, Ask yourself, if you could get paid to do anything, what would it be? Like, I know we've honestly said this when I first moved here, and you were like, well, let's create your dream life and then we'll make it happen. And it was like, well, I want to be able to work from home. I want to be doing something online. And like, we kind of listed it all out. And then, I mean, it's now been 2 years and we've slowly but surely kind of continuing to make that happen. So ask yourself that question. Even if you love your job and don't want it to connect your job at all, that's perfectly fine. You can still do this completely separate. But if you ask yourself that question of like, if you could fill your time, if money wasn't a part of it, if you could fill your time doing one thing, what would it be? And honestly, you probably just answered the question of what your passion is.
Right.
And
I
it shouldn't be that hard. I feel like we've spent the entire episode talking about finding your passion and having a passion, but it really shouldn't be that hard. Once you actually sit down and think like, what do I love the most? It should be pretty easy to know. Like you shouldn't have to spend a ton of time thinking like, well, what is my passion? It's like, no, like there's something you love. If you think too much into it, you're probably confusing yourself and you're way far off the mark anyways. So just Like,
Because
easy question.
we're both a really good example of that because we both enjoy we have very similar careers at this point.
Yes.
But we both have always enjoyed social media. We have always enjoyed writing or had a strength in reading and writing. And we both wanted to work remotely.
Yep.
And now we are both essentially content creators.
Yeah.
So it's like when you look back at it, like 2 years from now, when you're in the middle of your passion, you're gonna be like, oh, that was so easy. Like
Right.
these are things I've always enjoyed my entire life. And I think the other thing is don't let people deter you. I remember
Yeah.
like being in high school, being on social media and really enjoying it. And like my parents would be like, oh my gosh, your phone's growing out of your hand. You're on your phone too much. You're addicted to social media, stuff like that, which is a very valid fact
Yeah.
in itself. But it was a passion of mine. And now we have found a way to turn that into a career. So just your opinion rules all at the end of
Yes.
the day when it comes to your passion.
It's funny you bring up your parents having an opinion on your phone addiction because obviously, well, not obviously, but my dad works like 99% of my dad's life is on the internet for his jobs. And I remember being on my phone all the time, being on social media, and he'd be like, maybe if you stop consuming so much and actually start creating, you could do something with this. And I never had the confidence to do it. But I mean, I have memories back to like when Instagram first launched and we got on it, my dad always saying that. So if maybe listen to the people around you because honestly, the people around you have way less of a bias than you might even, and they might even
Yeah.
see what your passion is clearer than you can. Because if we had asked somebody, like, what do you think I should do? Sometimes people have the wrong idea, so take it with a grain of salt. But if you have people you trust, like, turn to them, be like, what do you think my passion is? And they might say, well, obviously it's this. Like, how did you not see this? So that's like another
Yes.
little tidbit. Favorites? Yes.
um, I'm going to start with my quote because it's kind of long. New goals don't deliver new results, new lifestyles do. And a lifestyle is a process, not an outcome. For this reason, your energy should go into building better habits, not chasing better results.
I like that. I am very happy that starting last week, we started putting our quotes in the episode description because I'm going to need to.
That's why I decided to choose that one because I was like, it's going to be longer, but it can go in the description so people can go
Yep,
read it.
but I like it. I like where it's going, and I'm excited to like dig into it. So if you're listening, go look in the description and like read that 4 times fast and actually absorb what Susan just said. My quote is you glow differently when your confidence is fueled by belief in yourself instead of validation from others.
Oh, I really like that.
And it honestly,
That's so perfect for this
right,
episode.
it kind of plays right into it. Like when you're doing things that give you passion versus what you think is going to give somebody else passion, the outcome is completely different in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite of the week?
I really don't even have a favorite of the week. I guess just being alive can be my favorite of the week. Like,
Oh my god.
I literally sat here and I thought about it and I was like, I guess okay, my raspberry leaf tea.
There you go.
That's been a nice little mocktail at night.
Yep.
And the fact that a hard mocktail is less than 3 weeks away at the absolute worst case scenario also gives me a spark of life.
Yep. And that turkey sub is waiting for you.
Mm, I can't wait.
My
I
favorite
can't wait.
is also kind of beverage related. It's my vanilla protein powder. I've been talking to you about this and I was like, I need to wait and until I've been using it for a few weeks to actually make it a favorite. But I always would skip over the vanilla flavored protein powder. I'm like, it's gonna be grainy. It's not gonna taste like anything. Like I'll go for the chocolate or like Alani Nu. Is it Alani that makes like the really fun ones, like banana? And they have so many fun ones. But
Oreo.
yeah, Oreo. I tried like a sample, so it was just like a €1 sample of this vanilla, and I was like, oh, I'll see, whatever. Ice cream. It literally tastes like white chocolate ice cream. It's so good. I drink it just straight with water, which I've never done with protein before, but I'm really excited to try it in smoothies and honestly make like
Yeah.
a protein milkshake in a way because the flavor is so spot on with ice cream. So just loving that. And I never really realized how much consuming protein right after a workout helps with muscle recovery. Obviously, I understand that that makes sense and that's why people do that. But my muscles, I can get so sore. Like I have such a, I don't know, like usually it's 2 days after a heavy workout for me is when I really feel it. But since doing the protein very consistently, I really haven't had that muscle fatigue. So loving that aspect of it too.
There's benefits of having it before or during your workout too
Interesting.
that
I'll
you
have to
can
look
look
into
into.
that.
Because I usually start when I'm weight training 30 minutes before my workout is at least 30 grams of protein.
Oh, all right. That's good to know too. All right, let's wrap.
We're gonna run out of time, so we will see you guys next week. Please like, subscribe, leave a review.
Thank you for listening. See you next time.